Hi, so I'll, for about the first 15, 20 minutes, I'll talk about how BK Ultrasound use FrameMaker in our wide series of technical documentation. And then for the second 20 minutes of the session, Björn will come up and show how he's integrated our latest user guide into the body of one of our systems. So it's a split session. So I studied in the UK. I'm still studying health qualification with the Open University as part of my work. I've been a technical writer, editor for about 5-6 years now. So I started at BK. I think we have some representatives. And then I moved to BK Ultrasound, which interestingly was a part of BK once upon a time, as a technical writer and senior editor. And a few years ago, I became the technical communication lead and senior editor, which doesn't fit on a business card, so I have to shorten it down. So we have a small team, technical writer, a translation coordinator, and we have some consultant technical writers, and I do sort of day-to-day technical writing as well to fill in. So we're not a huge team, and we do a lot of different things, which I'll show you. So the company, old company, 40 years. We've been developing ultrasound, plus some CT and MRI and other imaging systems for, as you can see, urology, surgery, and point of care. Bit of info, Danish company. So originally Danish, now owned by an American company, which has seen quite a lot of things change, to be honest with you. Market leading image and build quality. So you can see we have this kind of iconic design here with the portrait monitor, the slanting keyboard, the small wheelbase, and the CPU at the back. So it's won a series of awards for design and usability, and it's mid to high end of the market. So I'll just speed through this because it's not very. So strong competition with the likes of GE, Hitachi, and some other much bigger companies. Our parent company called Analogic. They're based in the UK, in the US, sorry, and they're kind of world-leading developers of B2B components for CT, MRI, and security detection equipment. This last one's quite interesting. It's a prototype for scanning bags at airports. So there's one in Narita Airport in Tokyo, and there's one at Amsterdam, and it can scan bags with liquids in, and it can differentiate the liquids to know which are potentially dangerous and which are just water or juice. So within a few years, hopefully, you won't have to take all that stuff out your bag anymore. So I don't know if anyone else works in the medical device industry. Yeah, who for, who with? Yeah. 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 So you know about the regulatory landscape. Yeah. So that's sort of our main. What takes up a lot of our time is making sure that we fit with all of these ISOs and these different standards imposed by CE, FDA, Health Canada, Health China. All of these various governing bodies, and as soon as approvals change for that, we have to go into our documentation, every document, and update to show what approval status we have. It's a big task. We make a lot of clinical test documentation versions, so for each new product, we take it out into the field, take it to doctors, they test it on patients generally. So we have sort of draft documentation we prepare for that, and that has to be translated, and that is another big part of our task. We prepare a lot of documentation for governing body approvals. So this is documentation to be sent to the CE, FDA, Health Canada. This is the Chinese version, Singapore. you name it really, anywhere we want to get our products approved. So these processes can take, in the case of the FDA, maybe 6 months, Health Canada, maybe 4 years. Not even a joke. So we have to supply all of that as well to be part of what's called the submission, which contains hundreds of other documents. Regular audits, we have an audit today, so it's very good timing I'm here. Actually, part of the reason I'm doing it. So we have a Norwegian auditing body that come in and speak to various people about what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. Tends to be the latter, to be honest. But we're working on it. So we have to be there as well, and we have to make sure that everything is as up to speed as possible. 3 company rebrands in 4 years. So if you've ever been through one of these, you know that one's enough for 10 years. And actually, BK Ultrasound, we changed the name 2 weeks ago. So we're called something else now. We're called BK Medical again, which is what we were called 4 years ago. So we still have some documentation from 4 years ago we haven't got around to updating, which we don't need to do now because we've gone full circle. So we were BK Medical, then we were Analogic, which is the parent corporation. Then they realized at events and congresses, people thought BK had disappeared off the face of the earth because we didn't publicize that we were rebranding to Analogic. So then they thought, well, maybe BK Ultrasound's a better idea, so we rebranded to that. And then we've just been bought by another company, so we're going back to BK Medical again. So that's, as you know, a lot of work. We have a lot of localization demand for our complex files into 22 languages, and these can be from week to week sometimes, if possible. We have a very obliging translation company based in Greece, I think, and they're very helpful, but sometimes we can't deliver as quickly as people need it. Prior to documentation, what I mean by this is we have a range of distributors and direct sales countries around the world who want to make their own documentation based on the documentation we make in the head office. And it's generally bad. It generally doesn't contain any warnings and cautions. And they make it all the time. So we have a really big problem trying to make sure that doesn't get out of control or too out of control. And delivery methods, so for example in Germany, if we're delivering an ultrasound system, we still have to deliver printed user guides. It's part of the regulation there. So we're really restricted into how we can modernize how we deliver our documentation. We thought about maybe using USB sticks for a while, but there's so many hospitals that won't accept USB sticks for security issues. So we still deliver a lot just printed documentation, stacks and stacks of folders. Shipping from the US, time zone issues. Yes, so sometimes the shipping, they incorrectly package the documentation, which can mean that systems are held up on the Chinese border for weeks, and this can accrue thousands of dollars in fines. And it's not my fault, but it does happen that these things are incorrectly packaged. Which can cause a lot of fines. Resource issues, we're a small team, as I said earlier, and what I really want to do is to step back a bit and get a bigger picture of FrameMaker and to see if we can use it in a more structured way. But at the moment, we don't really have the time to sit back and assess that, because we heard some very interesting things this morning. But at the moment, we're still just kind of treading water sometimes. And disparate products. All of our products are very different, or they seem to be very different. So there's a real limit on the amount of content we can reuse. So each document is often, a standalone document, and there's not much we can take and reuse. So that's quite a lot of hours. Touchpoints, documentation team. So I like to think we're quite central in the organization. Other people might disagree, but it's true. So on a daily basis, we'll deal with our clinical teams who are out with the products, with doctors, and we have to supply them with specific documentation, product service. The guys out in the field fixing the products, they need things. Customer service, this is about delivery, user guide translation. Regulatory, yeah, well, how long have you got? Quality assurance, it's the same, making sure our processes are up to scratch, up to standard, as I've talked about the what's happening today in the office. Software development, we deal with these guys daily basis because they make obviously the software and the products, and we write about the software. Same with the mechanical guys, the hardware, the probes. Direct sales offices in Japan, South America, and distributor sales offices. These are guys that make their own documentation, so we try and make sure they use ours. Oh, and even more, training and education teams. Yeah. Next. So I'll go through this quickly. So this is what we use FrameMaker for at the moment. Our main documents here are the system user guides. So you can see they have the same kind of look and feel. You have the system on the front. Then they contain, operator patient safety info, so the EMC, the electromagnetic information, and general user instructions, and they can be 50 to 300 pages, so they're quite hefty. Transducer user guides, these are the probes. So these two are surgical probes. So the one in the middle, maybe you can't see it very well, but this can go directly in the body through what's called a trocar, and it can be placed directly on the liver, for example. And we have ones that can be placed directly on the brain, actually, so you can image through the dura and into the brain. And the third one goes, well, you can probably guess where that goes. It's not very comfortable. Product catalog. Main document, complex. It's over 100 pages and thousands of products. And I'd like to find a better way to use FrameMaker for this, probably in a structured format, because it's it's a real beast to maintain and to keep the formatting consistent. So this is maybe where we'd start if we were going to move to a sort of a more structured format. Sterilization guide here, our most important document, because if these things aren't sterilized properly, people can die, which is serious. This here is a document intended to go on the wall of sterilization departments in hospitals to show how to clean and sterilize the transducer in a handful of steps. And we decided to use images as the basis of this, because I went to the US and I spoke to some experts, and they told me that over 50% of people that work in these departments in the US can't read or write very well, which I found quite surprising. So we decided that to do it properly, maybe we need to visualize it. So this is another document we make in FrameMaker, which works quite well. What else we got? Transducer overview. This shows all of our guides, so all of our transducers. It's for the sales guys mostly. Tender specifications. This is for the sales guys if they're pitching to health units or health boards. It shows what the product can do. It shows the capabilities and the imaging details and so on. And assembly guides. Yeah, these little plastic things that go on the probe if you want to perform a biopsy, which is a needle in the body. It shows how to attach them. And then finally, quick start guides. These attach to the system with a small chain, and they're laminated so they can be wiped down, because if they're in the operating room, things can get on them. So they are sterilizable in their own way. So now to our interesting new product. It's called the BK Specto, and it's a big it's a breakthrough for the company in the way that we've developed it. So instead of having a typical keyboard with buttons and a mouse and so on, it's a touch keyboard that gives they call haptic feedback. So it gives kind of vibrational feedback depending on what you press on the screen. So the idea is that the doctor or the surgeon looks at the imaging screen and doesn't really need to look down at their hands. So we did a lot of research and we found out this is what doctors wanted. This was the value proposition. This is what they were looking for. So it's been in development for several years, but instead of relying on PDF user guides, you know, printed and sent with the system, we thought it's probably an opportunity here to integrate the user guide directly into the system, some sort of HTML way, which we had no expertise in, but we knew Björn, and he works as a consultant for us. So he was able to come and integrate it onto the system, and he's going to talk about this in a second. So it's a brand new game-changing ultrasound system with a portrait landscape monitor. So it goes both ways, which is, again, unique. And finally, it has, we found out, the possibility to integrate HTML help. This is once you convince the software guys that it's worth it, and that took some doing. So before Björn takes over, I'll show you a quick video of it, just so you can sort of visualize it before he comes and shows you more. It's a very American video. I'll just
From the leaders in urology ultrasound solutions for over 40 years comes the BK Spectro, an all-new advanced ultrasound system designed specifically for urologists. The system combines cutting-edge design, versatility, and a range of market-leading features, including an all-glass keyboard with reset grooves in place of conventional buttons. TrueSense technology enables sightless navigation, giving you more time to focus on the ultrasound image and not the controls. The sealed glass keyboard also makes cleaning fast and efficient. And the system's small footprint and maneuverability make it an easy addition to any workspace. The expanded high-resolution screen shows imaging in outstanding detail and allows you to use portrait or landscape views for superb dual imaging. Our highly sensitive color Doppler provides excellent blood flow visualization, and AutoGain provides superb images instantly. No adjustment needed. BK Spectro features 3 transducer ports to give you ease and flexibility. Most of our specialized urology transducers are sterilizable and feature a smart button, which activates the transducer with a single press. The unique tri-plane transducer for transrectal biopsy procedures combines simultaneous biplane and end-fire imaging to give the best access to all prostate zones. The biplane transducer is ideal for brachytherapy and
I think you get the idea.
biopsy procedures. The leaders in
You watch it again?
ultrasound solutions for over 4.
There you go. Okay, so that's the system. Now you know what it looks like. Björn, are you ready? Yeah. So he'll show you how he worked his magic and integrated our user guide onto the system. Won't you?